Hey,
All right.
hey. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Good to hear. I actually have a question. Do you have the VODs for me?
I do.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So there were two sets I lost. One was against a Falco.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I ran it back in losers and won that one. I don't think it was like any huge changes in my game plan. I just got some successful hard callouts because I figured out some of his habits.
Okay.
And then there was the Politena, which was in Grands. I got 3-0'd. I think my main issue uh, was I think I described it earlier, but I just I committed too hard on some
Mm,
reads when I shouldn't have, and I was like always just super aggressive instead of like going for smaller hits at mid range and just like covering
right.
the reversal options.
Okay. Yeah, versus Palutena, that doesn't fly, of course.
Yeah,
So is this offline, by the way?
this is offline. Yes.
Awesome. Perfect. Perfect. That's gonna help a lot, especially when we're gonna be talking
Yeah.
about like passive and reactionary stop play.
Yeah,
Um.
so
Yeah.
my thought, if I already explained it a bit in our Discord conversation, but I think uh, one thing I struggle with Shulk is that since he doesn't have great tools at stopping aggression reactively, I feel like I have to be swinging a lot of the time, and
Mm,
also I feel uncomfortable when I'm not at mid range because if I'm not in like the stage positioning where I can enforce my stuff, um, then I feel like they're just going to be able to aggress on me for free, right?
yeah.
And they're going to gain stage control. Um,
Yeah.
and my thought was so obviously I need to prioritize coverage more, and I know how to do that. And I noticed some stuff when I looked at the VODs by myself. But I also thought it would probably be good to think about like picking my battles more wisely
Yeah.
and like not always making it my goal in neutral whenever I don't have stage control and am not in mid range. Like whenever there's stage to seize, I like invariably seize it instead of
Mm,
being patient and waiting to go into mid range. And I thought maybe being more judicious in that sense would help me.
yeah. So I think it's actually pretty interesting because I think Shulk, in essence, like on paper, you would think he's very simple because like in the mid range he wins. So just get into the mid range and start swinging. The thing is, and I think this is something that a lot of people kind of miss in terms of nuance, is what is important for Shulk is that he's slow, which gives the opponent a lot of room to pressure the way he puts himself in that mid range. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about here too. Is like,
Right.
okay, so
Yeah.
how do I effectively put myself into mid range, and from there I can I can win. And I think a lot of picking your battles is also um, like consistently trying to achieve that mid range, which I think is very hard to do. Like I don't know a single Shulk who consistently tries to achieve the mid range. A lot of us are like, oh, we're in close range now. I can do my down air mix up, or I can do my up air mix up, and that would be so much
Yeah.
damage. So I might as well, So that's
And then I did that and I got destroyed.
very very relatable.
Yeah, against the Falco, I would down air out of shield, and I would get up tilted.
Every time, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we'll just do a little bit of review, and or I'll watch a little bit of the match, and then we can review afterwards.
Right.
We are going to Town and City, game one.
Let's see.
See what happens.
Okay.
And I'll go in
So
for the-
I think this is actually don't usually do this, but I think this is so telling of what we talked about before. Is like
see what happens.
look at the way you try to enter the mid range, and that is why they win,
with
right?
the-
It's
yeah.
yeah, it's not the fact that you're in mid range, it's the way that you enter the mid range, which I think is the weakness in these type of situations, especially since Palutena is really good at calling out the way people transition ranges. When you try to gain more range, she can control the space with like projectiles, and when you try to close the distance, she can often call it out with like dash attack.
Yeah, that was one other thing I was thinking about. Like I was thinking that I want against Palutena, my default like range I want to be at in neutral, or at least some of the time would be bigger. So yeah, I want to be at the range where if I full hop, I won't get anti-aired by a rising nair.
Yeah. So you actually like. Okay, so this is a funny thing because I think this is kind of relevant to what we're talking about. I think an important Shulk mix-up that gets forgotten is where you space. So there's like two variations. One is perfect spacing, which is basically like you hit with the tip of your back air, right? And the other one is a little longer than perfect spacing. So this is where you actually don't try to hit them. So you instead try to occupy the space. And what you want to go for is very dependent on the matchup, but also the player read. So if you're the type of Shulk who, or if you're a Shulk player who struggles a lot with parries, then I think your spacing is too much on top of the opponent. Because in essence, so you talked about this before, an issue that Shulk has is that we have to swing preemptively, which in turn is very reactable and prevents you from reacting to your opponents in turn 2. But when you swing at open space, there's not a lot that they can do with that reaction, because it's not like they can parry it. It's too far away for them to like intercept it. And I think versus Palutena, especially, like missing her with your moves is actually really strong.
Right, that makes sense.
And I think
the other thing I was thinking about, like with full hops, is like, because if I'm any closer than that, like the way to beat her, just short hopping and then landing with fair or bear or empty landing or whatever, is to like be above her, or far enough away that she can't threaten it. And far enough away doesn't really work because I can't whiff punish it easily. So
yeah. So you can be above her, but what you can also do is parry it. And I know that Shulk doesn't get like a guaranteed parry reward,
yeah, that's true.
But it's still a good situation. Like I can talk you to about my Palutena game plan, which is I go into speed, and then I walk so that I don't get hit by auto reticle, and then I try to parry landing aerials, and it actually works very well.
Really? Okay.
I think parrying is actually super underrated for Shulk.
Yeah, I barely ever do it intentionally. I should do it more.
I mean, I get it, because like when we parry shit, what do we even get? Nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing. But it's what I've realized is that the frame advantage is actually strong enough to warrant doing it. Because it might not be like, it's kind of the same. I don't know if you watched my recent video on like MK Leo, but this kind of goes into the same topic, is that it's not even about getting like the direct hits. It's the fact that the situation is in your advantage, which leads into you know, more often than not, getting a positive reward out of the situation. And that is what you got to be looking for. Even as Shulk, you don't got to be looking for hits. You got to be looking for good situations.
Right.
Comfortable percentage.
I see Nico is coaching you in the chat as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nico.
Nair into
Don't get
forward
hit.
air.
Don't get hit.
Comfortable percentage.
Hit her. Yeah. Yep.
Loads on it. All right. And I'll go
I hate that.
I hate that.
Tries to get another one.
Come on.
Yeah.
Get punished for it. On smash, catching Gaku's jump.
And then I also got like
Speaking of playing out of
messed
mind,
up in
Anno's
disadvantage.
really rocking
I did
it.
a lot of
Anno
bad
also
options.
known
I
as
fell
Alex.
into explosive
I'll
flame a
call
lot
Anno
when I
first
shouldn't
and
have.
Gaku, I
I
will
kind
call
of just
Gaku
did what I did.
per his wishes.
I did not expect. I thought the Nair would send her into tumble,
Aries
so I
Yeah.
thought she'd be fake
I'm
anyway.
surprised.
with the roll. This is in Soko's history. This is Gaku's second straight grand final appearances. He unfortunately lost the first one to Umanaka, as everyone
we're
does.
back.
Umanaka usually very
Okay, I didn't know what
dominant
that
in
was.
this type of tournament. Fortunately, could not make it today. So Norman, if you're watching this, hopefully all is good.
It's pretty interesting,
Miss you,
actually.
buddy. For Alex,
Okay, catch the
also known
roll.
as Anno the God, this is his first Grand Finals appearance. Last tournament, he did achieve.
Oh,
got
he
third
crouched
in the
under the Nair, or did
last
you just
tournament,
Nair too
Yeah.
early?
he achieved
It was a good call on down. So I'm not super mad.
Oh, you were just like a few pixels off.
Yeah.
That's all it is. All right.
Yeah, he got third, I believe. While I was talking,
Let's watch one more stock and kind of review from there, because I feel like versus Palutena, it's a little bit hard to judge at times.
ATG. See forward air into dash attack, gonna up air for shield pressure. Gaku knocks Pano off stage, forward air, nothing happening. Pano falling down in disadvantage, going for it already.
Oh, the platform.
Yeah, I got lucky though.
Air slash,
Yeah.
the first one, the second hit didn't come out because of the platform. The second one connects in its entirety.
A lot of this was also me going for like my default landing fair, retreating fair, ledge trapping, instead of adjusting.
So I think it's actually pretty cool how in this stock you can actually see what I was talking about with like the coverage hitboxes. I think it's around here where you get like a reverse nair. Not quite here. Right here. So this neutral air is gonna miss her clearly, but she runs into it, so it works. And I think you need more of this if I'm looking at your gameplay. If we're gonna be talking about like more passive play, is the reason why this is good is because like whiffing a nair like this or whiffing a back air like this, like by missing them, it beats their aggression, but it doesn't lose to passive play. And I think that is what makes Shulk strong, is that you can beat aggression without losing to passive play. While oftentimes when people try to like beat aggression, they need to like specifically dash back or specifically move around aggression, which puts them in a bad situation, and someone who's more passive can then utilize that, you know, that frame advantage or that positional advantage to then pressure you and win the neutral from there, where Shulk doesn't have that. And then after you establish the fact that you can counteract aggression with hardly any commitments, your opponent will have to play around that type of walling game, and from there you can start playing reactively. Because the thing is, our hitboxes are so big that to play around them requires a relatively hard commitment, and even though Shulk can normally not react, those type of commitments are definitely reactable.
Right, yeah.
And I think if I look at this match in specific, I also personally think you could have played a lot more campy, especially for your speed Monado. I don't try to play neutral against Palutena without speed, honestly. Let me actually write something down. So, spacing just outside the range of your opponent. So what do you think about what we talked about so far?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of it. I think part of it, but part of why I posed this question, though, is like, I want to figure out how I can be comfortable not swinging at all, and just like using movement, and maybe that, like, obviously that's something that Shulk struggles with, like just not preempting, but I don't know. I want to figure out more situations where I can just...
So, I think the thing about Shulk, though, is that you cannot just play without swinging. Like, it's actually impossible. So I think why we're talking about this is because this is step 0, right? You need to have established this type of defensive spacing before you can rely on a playstyle that you can not swing with. Because once, again, when your opponent starts to play around this type of walling, this type of like walling in which they're not sure if it's going to hit or not, so they better play around it, at that point they're going to have to, like I said, they're going to commit to getting around it, and you can use that time to react in ways that is actually feasible for even Shulk. Because when you react to someone who is dealing with your walling, and they know what to expect, for example, the way you space on top of someone, the counterplay is very easy. But the counterplay to this is not easy, and that is going to force them to commit, and that commitment is what you're going to be punishing, right? So step 1.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I think the way I thought about it before was I would establish my coverage, and then I would go in. And I didn't do that in this set specifically, but like that was my game plan before.
Yeah, so that is another way to look at it, which is kind of like you make them respect your swings, and then you use the respect to get your mix-ups, which is
Yeah.
good. But
I think I have to like implement this as well, where I force them to respect, and then I catch their options trying to beat it, which is something I don't do, and I think that's something I was struggling with. That's a good point.
Yeah. So the difference is like if you want to force your opponent to respect your hitboxes, then you are trying to push them in their face, right? Well, what we're doing is we're not forcing them to respect our hitboxes in a way that forces them to play defensively. We're forcing them to respect our hitboxes if they want to aggress on us. Does that make sense?
Right.
So
right. Yeah.
The difference is I'm just gonna write it down just for completeness sake. Perfect spacing forces your opponent to play around your hitboxes if they or else they get hit. And 2, near perfect spacing, I'm just going to call it near perfect spacing, forces your opponent to play around your hitboxes if they want to aggress. And the first one basically means, in this case, I would say use the given time to set up pressure. And in this situation, I would say use the given commitment to react. And that's what we're looking at.
Gotcha. I like that.
And I think like it's hard to say when I look at these games because it's obviously you're not trying to do this type of things. But I think like one of the important things is that when you want to leverage this given commitment through reaction, then there's a few things you can do. So when the opponent shows commitment to get around your hitboxes, there's a few things you can do. So one thing that I really like to do is I like to use air slash in neutral. And this is like every Shulk hates me for this. But
I love you for it.
Thank you. Like I did this against True Force Sheik, and he was like, I've never seen a Shulk up B so much in neutral. But I'm like, dude, you're literally trying to move around my hitboxes all the time, so I'm just gonna anti-air you, right? I think this is especially good versus full hops or double jump pressure stalls. So full hops, think like Greninja, or double jump pressure stalls, think like Roy. These are also the matchups in which I up B the most, these two. And then another one is parry. So I think parry is a very important aspect of this playstyle. Even if it doesn't give us direct reward, it's still very good. And another one is counter. So there's another one that Shulks hate me for. Grounded counter. Yeah. Actually, grounded counter kind of good. It's kind of like counter is kind of like the riskier parry, I would say. So if you know they're constantly going to be landing with hitboxes, which Palutenas like to do, this is a good one. And then there's whiff punish, and of course, 2 of the best things to do this with is down tilt, and if you want a hard commit, it's backslash. But there's also like, forward smash. These are the main ones I use.
About parrying, though, what do you generally like? Since I'm still not like super comfortable in like scramble situations that happen after a parry, where I'm like not plus enough to get an actual punish. Like, how would you recommend thinking about that?
So
I guess like I generally should like short hop and try to set up short hop pressure, or
yeah, and why we do that is because so I mean, of course your mileage may vary, but generally people have a thing that they do after a parry, and I can tell you that
generally spot dodge or shield.
Yes, exactly. That's what we're getting at. So generally, after a parry, people will go for a defensive option, usually shield or spot dodge. And like you said, you can use this time to set up a short hop and pressure from there. But you can also use this time to, for example, call out with your own run up grab if they go for a shield. What I like a lot is I like to start off with just doing a down tilt after a parry, and then seeing what they do, because down tilt, I mean, however you space it, it's usually safe after a parry. But if they're close enough, oftentimes like Shulk
I'll probably use that less against Palu though.
Sorry?
I'll probably use that less against Palu though. Like I hate down tilting your shield because
grab. Yeah.
Yeah, there's grab, and then also it's like minus enough on shield that she gets to set up her short hop, and I can't really anti-air it.
Oh yeah, and that's where you parry again.
Yeah,
No, but
that's true. Yeah,
no, I get what you mean. The thing is, it's the down tilt. I recommend starting with the down tilt purely to see how do they handle getting parried.
right. Yeah,
And something that a lot of shokes forget is that what a lot of people do is they go for like minus 7 aerials on your shield because they know you cannot upbeat out of shield. But if you parry that, that actually gets you a guaranteed punish.
yep,
And if it's like an even safer aerial on your shield, that's still a guaranteed grab. And I mean, when you go for these parries, and this is kind of the second thing I kind of want to talk about Palutena specific. Like I said, I don't play neutral against Palu without speed. If I know I'm in a good situation, for example, she's in the corner, I actually switch to Buster fairly liberally because on parry, Buster is amazing. Like even better because if you get a parry grab, that's a down
right.
throw forward tilt, right? Or a down throw nair on their attack forward smash, whatever you want. So a grab out of a parry is actually very strong in my opinion. And then there's one final thing, and this is kind of like actually the most important thing for playing a patient shulk, which is how to leverage whiffs. So did we talk about this last time? Setting up whiff pressure? I don't remember.
I don't believe so.
Okay, so that's good. I've been talking about this a lot lately, so if you want to watch me talk about this like super in depth, I actually released a video like just yesterday about how does MK Leo always gain advantages.
Right, I watched part of that.
Okay, so that's basically what we're
Probably
going to be
later.
talking about in general is when someone whiffs, you get an advantageous situation, and a lot of what you can get out of that is let me actually put it this way. So when the opponent whiffs, they're not likely to counterattack. Instead, they will often defend. And then you can use this time to set up pressure. This is what you talked about before. Like if they parry, I use that time to set up like a short up pressure. The same happens when they whiff. The thing is, there's multiple ways to set up pressure. One way is to do like the short hop mix up, and another thing that I like to do is to shield next to them. And what this does is this forces them to, well, what this does is this covers, it covers them shielding because it allows you to grab them in a lot of situations. Them spot dodging, it covers them them jumping because then you get to like parry their landing again, for example, or even a B and call it out, stuff like that. And it also covers them counter-attacking. And that's very important because like the way to kind of beat, for example, a short hop mix-up would be for them to swing again. So they would like whiff their back air and then do another rising back air. And then they mitigate your short hop pressure. But if you just dash up and shield, you're now covering their immediate counterattack too. Counterattacks are often interceptions, which means shield beats them pretty reliably. Shulk is actually one of the best characters at doing this because of his range on his up B. Yeah. But I think this is very important. So even when you don't get like any of these specific things like an air slash or a parry or a counter or a whiff punish, if they whiff, you can still use that time to set up your pressure. And I think this is what makes or breaks a patient playstyle. Is how well do you execute on this idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean we can go more in depth on this, but I don't feel like it's super relevant. I think the most important fit, like if you want to see more, I would just recommend watching the video.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think? What do you think about this way of looking at like patient play?
I like it. One other thing I was thinking about was when I watch Kome, like he just like he always has just like waited a lot at ranges where neither character's like that threatening, except if he's in speed, then he's like pretty threatening. But like
Yeah.
I wanted to think about that a bit.
Yeah, so what I observe when I watch Kome is that a lot of what he does is he just hopes his opponent makes a mistake, which I think is a pretty poor way of going about the game.
Right.
But he's also so good at zone breaking projectiles that it kind of works, because like when you look at Kome, for example, even when he's like in speed or even in jump in neutral, he just jumps in there and backairs you for using like auto reticle every single time.
Right.
Um, and that kind of entices the opponent to start committing. And then when they start committing, he's very good at like trying to make them whiff and then setting up pressure from there. I think what makes Kome's playstyle work is actually his speed usage. Because like you said, I think in speed he waits a lot too, but then he kind of establishes his burst range at like these seemingly random moments. And it's like,
yeah.
oh right, Shulk has burst range in speed. And I have to respect that. And then from there, the game really opens up. I think that's kind of the core of what you're looking at.
Yeah, I think I aggress too much in speed. Like, I think my jump ins are pretty predictable. Like, even when I try to mix up by like jumping back, I'll usually like do a double jump mix up where I just double jump in instead of just empty hopping and threatening that. So I think I need to be more patient when I go for jump ins in speed.
So I think like in general, my attitude towards this game is that approaching is just bad. And I feel like Shulk's speed gives us the idea that we can just overwhelm our opponents, which is true, but that doesn't make it the optimal option. So I think even in Speed Monado, what I recommend is doing like basically the opposite of what Shulk normally does. And instead of playing around your opponent's burst range, you start establishing your own burst range and trying to go from there. And it gives him burst range. Hang on. Let me actually finish this thought. It lets him zone break projectiles. And then, like, generally, what this means is that in speed, he controls the neutral. Outside of speed, the opponent is forced to pressure or speed comes back. This is why I think speed is his best Monado, and I think there's actually, like, I don't actually think it's close at all.
Right.
Because, like, I think Shulk in speed arguably has the best neutral in the game. And I don't think that's too far-fetched at all, honestly. It's just that you have to treat it as sort of like a chargeable resource, kind of like Waft, in the sense that when it's not there, then the fact that your opponent tries to prevent you from getting it is another opening for you.
Right. Yeah.
And that is where Kome switches to like Buster, and then the opponent approaches him, and he's just waiting, and then he just like dash back, turn around, down tilt, with punishes their landing, grabs afterwards, down throw, forward tilt, and then you're already halfway dead.
Yeah.
And I really think, like, out of all of his resources, or well, not out of all of his resources, but in terms of neutral, speed is the resource to kind of play around. And I think half of that is playing speed neutral properly and learning, even as a Shulk player, how to effectively establish and leverage your burst range. And the other half is, how do I play a defensive patient game style when my opponent is trying to pressure me while it's on cooldown.
Right.
And this is what I think. Like, a lot of this is what I think the future of Shulk is, honestly. But then again,
Do you think Kome is like one of the best players to look at when it comes to utilizing speed?
oh, that's a good question. I think in neutral, yes. In advantage, no. Actually,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. I think the way he plays advantage is super like high risk, high octane.
Yeah, I agree. So many Buster up airs.
Yeah, and
Like,
jump chases
every single time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, it works. He's the type of player who's really good at like establishing his own options rather than reacting to the opponent. But that also makes his speed Monado very good, because the way he establishes his speed Monado is very balanced. I think it's very well balanced. So yeah, I think Kome's speed Monado usage is very good. I think Nico's speed Monado usage is also very good. But I think in general, I would recommend watching Kome over anyone else for how to play like a burst range centric playstyle.
Right. Yeah. I can learn a lot from Nico, just like how he plays mid range and
Yeah.
how he plays advantage state. That's what I've always looked at him for, I think.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think his move selection is definitely very, very, very good. So yeah, let's actually continue watching the VOD now. Or
Okay.
we were watching the VOD. We can talk about some of the things actually in review, right?
Going for the dash attack.
Right.
Nair into forward air. We'll get some.
So I think like a lot of what we're looking at here in this situation specifically. So you go for the rising Nair, which I think is a good thing in this situation because you want to get him off of you. But then afterwards, after this roll and after the switch, you immediately go back to jumping. And I think that is kind of that is the point where we need to get the mentality shift. So instead of speed art jump, we gotta be like, okay, so we're in speed art now. We observe, and then we see, okay, there's definitely a landing aerial coming here. And then the landing aerial whiffs. So what's gonna happen here? Give me a guess.
He's probably going to jump again since he doesn't feel super threatened, but still probably won't swing again, I guess.
Okay, I think that's a fair guess. I would say, so I'm just gonna go with what most people do. He whiffed something, so he's gonna pick a defensive option.
Yeah, that's a better general thing.
Alright, so let's see what's gonna happen. Shield. And then he drops it.
Okay.
And then he shields again because he realizes you're gonna swing. So you see what I'm saying here? Like if you had reacted after the speed art activation, you would have at least been able to like dash up and down tilt the shield, see how she would react. And then next time, if you know, okay, there's gonna be a shield in this situation, you can like straight up grab her for it because you're in speed Monado. It's very hard to react to. Or even dash up and do like a reverse nair and cover the spot dodge too.
Right. Something, a habit I had to kick early in the game was because like I played Smash 4 Shulk.
Yeah.
So I had to. I feel like I over-adjusted to the fact that Monado Arts had like lower durations now, so I felt like, oh, I need to use this efficiently as well as I can. And in speed, that means, well, I have speed, so my jump in's really strong, so I'm going to jump in. And I think I like kicked it partially, but it hasn't like super gone away.
Yeah. Let me actually finish this thought because this is what we talked about before. I just gotta write it down.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I actually, like, funny story, I was playing against Mr. R like 2 days ago, and he got really mad.
Watching that VOD.
Yeah, he was really mad about Nair because I kept calling out his rolls with Nair. And he's like, there's no use rolling against Shulk because your Nair just covers it. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm waiting for you to pick a defensive option, and then I know you're not going to want to get grabbed, so I'm just going to throw out Nair, and I'll cover, like, spell dodge and roll, etc., etc. So, yeah, I think I get what...
shield, it's like a cross-up Nair.
Exactly. It's pretty safe, all in all. But I get what you're saying. So, the resources are, quote-unquote, limited, so in the limited time, you got to make the most of it. And I think that's still something... If like, watching you play... and knowing that context, I wouldn't be surprised if that's still like a factor in your decision making. And I would recommend just what I do is I treat Monados as like a camping resource. It's kind of like Waft, where the fact that it's recharging will entice people to approach me. So
right, yeah.
if I'm in it, sure, I'll benefit from it, but I won't, force it in any way. And if it's down, then I'll benefit from it more because my opponent feels forced afterwards. I
remember I was playing this one Inkling who had a % lead on me and was just like hard camping. And then I just held B and they're like, well, I gotta approach now.
You just showed them the timer ticking back up. Yeah, I
showed them I have 3 arts on cooldown. What are we gonna do about it?
That's actually funny because, like, in a lot of situations, just showing your arts, like, opening the menu will make people approach. That's actually a thing. But yeah.
And there it is again. I just like I do a defensive option and then I immediately go back in because I want to make the most of the time.
I also think one thing to kind of consider is this roll. And I understand this role because like it's hard to judge spacing and speed at times, like if you're safe or not. But I feel sorry.
Grab. And also against Palutena grab.
That's fair enough. But I feel like in a lot of situations against Palutena, if you space correctly or you cross her up, you can actually shield pretty 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 comfortably, because her main out of shield option is like nair out of shield, which you can up out of shield. And then if they do something stupid like this, you can just punish it on reaction. Like I've upbeat rolls on reaction, etc., etc. So actually,
I do upbeat whiffed grabs a bunch.
Yeah, I think a lot of Shulks do, luckily, because it's very strong. When spacing well, you can utilize shielding as a way to sort of preempt or cover. To cover their counter attacks. While also staying threatening due to upbeat out of shield range. It's unfortunate that we don't have a decent aerial out of shield. Otherwise, Shulk shield would be absolutely busted.
Yeah.
One thing to also consider, so this is like kind of a minor thing. In speed, you can simply retreating short up out of shield.
Yeah.
Which is nearly unreactable. I think Shulk has like the fastest short hop.
Yeah, he has. I actually checked this. He has 17 frames of airtime on short hop fastfall, so it's like literally unreactable.
Yeah, exactly. I think the only thing that comes close is I think Mega Man is actually almost faster, because Mega Man gets soft landing instead of hard landing, which compensates for a little bit of lag. But yeah. It's either way, it's unreactable,
Yeah, but I think like another big part of my problem against Palutena is I just have like no confidence in catching their landings, and that was in this set. I overcommitted a lot with anti-air nairs because I wanted to catch the full hop.
I get you. I like the roll in though. Like that idea is very good versus Palutena too. If you know she's gonna back air, that roll in is really good. He just barely outspaced you. But definitely not a bad option against Palutena. I feel like the way I play against Palutena is I know my defense, like my offensive options aren't the strongest, so I focus on defense and kind of waiting for her to mess up, which happens a lot because Palutena players are oftentimes a little bit spoiled, like that grab.
That was tragic.
I'm surprised he didn't back throw you. It probably would have killed. Honestly.
Yeah. It would have.
Yeah, so I think in this situation, I think this would be like a perfect moment to parry. Like if I were you in this situation, my first thought would be, okay, I'll parry the landing back air. And that would have gotten you a lot of momentum there. Even though you got the roll, that's good.
Yeah, and then there I thought maybe I could pummel him to down throw air /%, but...
I see.
Buster pummels do some crazy damage.
Yep. What you could do versus Palu, if you know she's gonna recover from like below the ledge, so you know you can 2-frame her, is you can do like a runoff and then like a jump back nair. Which actually stays active for a long time. It doesn't often kill her, but it puts her off stage without a resource. So
I used to do that a lot in Smash 4 because it like went around slower.
It's still good. I hardly see Shulks do it. I do it like all the time. I think it's really good.
Gaku knocks Pano off stage, forward air, nothing happening.
I actually had the dash back call out here. Right here.
Yeah.
But you just I hate it when like Shulk has this so much where your aerials are just like, you were 1 frame late for the sweet spot. Oh, she actually dodged it with her dash back.
Yeah, her dash back's just good in this situation.
Yeah. Fair enough. Let's see.
Falling down in disadvantage, going for an auto reticle.
Yep.
Air slash. The first one, the second hit didn't come out because of the platform. The second one connects in its entirety.
Okay.
Anno at kill percent, especially with Smash Art.
I love that Nair. All the shokes do that. I love it.
Is basically even at this point. 36 does not matter that much, especially in this matchup. You see the first Nair, 50%. Shield.
Ah, this pre-patch. I see.
I don't know why that didn't hit.
Actually, I think this was post-patch.
Oh, you still counted out of her Nair though.
It wasn't it like down throw near there?
Oh, it might have been actually. Down throw Nair. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fair enough.
Shield counter.
Against normal Nair, like Nair to Nair.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So you do the roll in again here. So definitely a good thing to do.
Yeah, that's one thing I mentioned before that Nico was talking to me about against Roy, and I started using rolls more consciously.
I think you roll away a lot though, which is not a bad thing.
The rolls away aren't as good, but like the cross-up rolls, like using them actually intentionally, not as panic options, has been good for me.
I think the rolls away aren't even bad. Like if I look at my own gameplay, I feel like I should roll away more because it's kind of it's hard to call out and it resets the neutral in a lot of situations. So I don't think it's a bad thing per se.
Oh really? Okay.
And I think one thing that's really good against Palutena is kind of like this Nair that you're doing here, where you start your swing so that, like, I think this is a little bit far out. So if you were like if she was standing like right here, it would have been great. Like if she were to jump out here to try to control the air, your Nair would have intercepted her. And then you get the landing hit if you want to anyway, to kind of wall her out if she wants to do anything later. Like, from what I've noticed, in neutral, like, standing at, like, just a little bit of a closer distance, and then doing, like, a rising Nair, where the rising hit just barely whiffs her, is, like, one of the best things you can do.
A lot.
Yeah.
One person, I used it too much against, and they started parrying it, but other than that, it's been great.
Yeah, I think in a lot of situations, though, if the opponent knows how to parry, it's bad. But you can, if you do like a forward momentum Nair, the back hit actually doesn't hit their shield. But I mean, I don't know how comfortable you are at doing those. I've been trying to lab momentum Nairs, but it ain't easy.
It is not.
Let's see.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I think roll away is good, but also I just make it my default option too often.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Ooh, that's rough. I actually think these situations are like super key against Palutena, where you get like these type of juggles because there's very little she can do about this. So it's kind of, this is pretty big drop in my opinion.
I just missed there.
Yeah, it happens. Oh, yep.
Yeah, I tried to challenge for the fair. In this space.
Gonna work on a game 1 victory.
the counter match.
I thought it would work.
Shock jab to the rescue, thank you.
Smash art, catching the jump, not gonna quite do it. It is Town and City, tall ceiling.
I think in general, like if I look at your juggles, I think you commit a lot in the air to air war, which I don't think is a bad thing per se, but especially against Palutena when she has her back air and like fast fall neutral air, stuff like that, you drop a lot of your advantage states because of it. Ooh,
yeah,
that would have been a down tilt or up B.
And that's another thing, like I'm just, like I mentioned before, not being comfortable against Palutena landing.
Oh yeah, that's fair enough. So okay, can I give you a little bit of a tech that you could use against Palutena? So if you think she's gonna use a projectile, you can do like a directional air dodge Monado cancel to approach her, which sounds super janky. But I've actually
I've looked at that. Even without dial charge, it reduces lag.
Oh, it does. Okay, I didn't know that. I've been experimenting with it a lot because in the neutral, like I said, I just activate speed and I walk. And I've realized if I have Monado charge, even if it's like Ghetto charge, you can just directional air dodge, cancel landing lag, and oftentimes you can get a lot of pressure out of it.
Directional air dodge landing lag is actually dependent on how high up you are. So.
Oh, Is that so?
Yeah, if you do it close to, like, the longer you fall in your air dodge, the less landing lag you'll have. There's a minimum.
The longer you fall. So if you do
Yeah.
it up high, it's less lag. Okay, I see.
Yeah, but if you wave dash, there's a lot of lag.
Okay. I think the wave dash is like 20 frames.
Something like that.
Yeah. And then 7 with a cancel.
Yeah.
An ideal cancel. Okay, so let's continue. Any questions, by the way, so far? Like, or do you feel like this all kind of fits together well?
I think I'm following well. I'll probably watch the video. Like I had, like you went a bit fast with some of the stuff regarding the video, but I can just watch it later and figure that out. So I think that's fine.
In general, like we've touched upon like the core points of what makes a patient Shulk playstyle work. So I think the rest of the review will mostly be like getting more into like your habits and how to apply it in certain situations. Unless there's like specific things you want me to look at, which I can look at for the next few games.
No, I think don't really have any other ideas that need covering.
Okay.
I think at this point we can just switch over into your pod review.
Well, we got game 2 coming in hot. Town and City is the stage of choice. Gaku thinks he could take it with the same stage as of game 1. We will see what's happening here. Dash attack.
They're the anti-air nairs with
going for the up air, not quite confirming it.
middling success.
I get the idea.
Another thing I noticed a lot was he would roll out of disadvantage, out of hit stun a lot. So I tried covering that more with
Nair.
Nair, yeah.
Yeah.
Get punished for grabbing. Up B top is going to take it.
And I think like that dash attack was like I felt like I wanted the, you know, Shulk just hits you a bunch and then you die a lot.
Right, the buster.
I just wanted to get that started, and
I get what you mean.
I got too greedy.
I think in general, when I look at your Shulk, it's a lot of like this kind of what you said before. It's like you're trying to establish your options a lot, and it's hard to play like the reactive game style. I think part of it is playing the reactive game style, but I think part of it is also just like believing in the fact that you can, you know, defensively counterplay your opponents. Like you said, you do a lot of like rolling.
Think that was like what I was talking about in Discord earlier. Like I feel like I'm so unconfident in my ability to play defensive that I don't do it.
Yeah, so I think like if we I think these tools that we talked about are going to give you a lot more confidence. In general,
I think that's what I needed,
one thing that I can recommend a lot, or one thing that I feel like helped me a lot in terms of realization, is that, hang on, let me actually not capitalize that before you confuse it with Monado Shield. Shulk's initial dash is actually really good. His max speed is kind of bad, but his initial dash is very, very solid. So if you want to talk about like defensive play, I think like dash back into like reverse down tilt or even reverse up B, that kind of stuff is like very strong. And through the dash back, you can also kind of judge, okay, are they going to hit me or not? And if they are, you can then shield and maybe even go into a parry, stuff like that. So part of it is consciously using defensive options. I'm thinking like dash back.
Right.
Shield.
So if I can mention something about dashback is I would use dashback down tilt a lot against the Palutena I used to play a lot in Boston. And he was really good at overshooting. And I also, I just felt like I was losing stage control, and I felt like stage control was like a more, just like a slider, and that's all there is to it. Like I didn't really implement like stage control reversal options at that point. So I think that's why I was struggling with that, and then I abandoned dash back down tilt more against Palutena.
So I think what you're saying is right. And the matchup against Palutena is very much like a fundamentals based one, which means that stage control is that much more impactful. What I also think is that, so here's the thing, right? Shulk has this thing where he can dash back and then like short hop back air, or like reverse down tilt, right?
Yeah,
or
dash back puts him in that with spacing situation that
Yeah,
he uses well.
and the nice thing is, so what a lot of people do, like if you look at MK Leo, for example, what he does is he dashes back, and then he dashes back forth again, and then he shields. And then he's like, okay, I know my opponent's going to want to occupy the space I lost after dashing back, so I'm going to head over here, and then when they're, surprised that I'm suddenly here again, they'll try to commit onto me, and I will punish out a shield to go from there, right? The nice thing about Shulk is that he doesn't need to do this, because what he does is he dashes back, and then he does like a short hop back air, and then he occupies the space that he was, he threatens the space that he was occupying previously, without having to be there himself. And when people start to respect the back air, that is where reverse down tilt starts becoming a stronger option. That's why I actually prefer reverse up B, because a lot of people try to occupy the space by jumping into it, and then you can just like dash back and cover that with your own up B. Kind of go from there. But yeah, down tilt, I think down tilt is not the go-to. Down tilt is like the mix-up after the back air.
Okay, that makes sense.
So like two things. One, dashing back is relatively low commitment due to Shulk's strong stage control reversal tools. I think, for example, you can just like go into jump to the other side of the stage, land on the platform, pressure from there. And another thing is Shulk can contest the newly opened space with, for example, Bear. But what you can also do, like you can also, dash back in and shield, kind of like MK Leo does, and then, threaten an up B out of shield. And if they start overshooting on your dash back, I think that is like super committal, because when they want to overshoot, what can they use for that? It's like Rising Nair, which is relatively lacking in range, or they could do like a dash attack, and both those options lose to you, instead of, doing dash back, just throwing out a walling aerial. Or even just shielding, right? So I get your complaints, and they're valid, but Shulk has so many ways to deal with that type of option, and it's so committal. Even like, especially with the buffs, Palutena's dash attack, you can just punish it with up smash out of shield.
Yeah, I think also, how should I put this? I thought of dash back down tilt as like the ideal option, and that part of that is like the Twitter propaganda regarding Palutena, like, oh, just play grounded. That's all you need to do.
Nah, bro.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I guess I'll just play grounded, and then why have I lost all my stage control?
I think the thing against Palutena, it's not. I don't think it's play grounded. I think the important thing to do is to play non-committal, because if you commit too hard, she can dash attack you on reaction. The thing is, Shulk has a range in which he can commit, which is the near miss spacing. So Shulk is kind of the exception, where he can actually play an aerial game, because he's a top 5 character, dude. Don't let these fucking Mario players tell you to play grounded. Like, of course you're gonna play grounded. Duh. You have like down throw, up air, forward air, whatever.
Also, you can actually crouch under Nair.
That's also a thing. So I don't think Shulk actually plays super grounded. You definitely have like a baseline of grounded gameplay to avoid her just simply like beating out your hitboxes, your aerials. But there is a time and place for aerials, and I think what a lot of people kind of forget is that especially rising aerials are often part of your grounded toolkit. Like Palutena's Rising Nair starts on the ground and ends on the ground. That's a fucking ground move to me. Shulk's Rising Nair, it's a ground tool, right? And I think that like short hop Bear is kind of an exception, but short hop Bear, I think Bear is so good against Palutena because we can use it outside of the range in which you can beat it on reaction.
Right. It doesn't have the typical weakness of a falling aerial in that it can just be anti-aired.
Yeah, exactly. Even something like Zersuit Zer, which has comparable range, can even get beaten because you run under it, right?
Right.
But not Shulk Becker. Yeah. Mostly. That hitbox makes me very sad a lot of the times.
Comfortable lead here for Anna the God for game 2. And now we are Now we're going to take some time during this matchup.
I like it.
Hopefully you'll have it. Shulk is in shield guard. That's the second
I
time
swear,
Anno
Shulk
has
struggles
recovered
with that
high.
up B.
We'll have it.
I
Shulk
swear to
is
God.
in shield guard.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
agree.
second time Anno has recovered high, but no punch.
All
You're gonna
Shulks that
take it
disagree, I instantly ignore their
first.
opinion.
I'm like I said, take some time to
Whatever.
placings. Well, the loser of this matchup will take second. The winner.
Oh,
obviously, will
yeah.
take first. It's just
I think in
like
general, if I look at this set, I don't even think you're
go home with a third place.
like. Let's put it this way. I think there are definitely gains to be had in a matchup, the way you play the matchup. But I think a lot of the things that you drop is like technical errors, or like when they whiff the up B and then like they don't get punished at all.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think a lot of that happens. So I cannot really coach you on that, but what I can kind of discuss briefly is juggling with Shulk.
Oh yeah, that's a good thing to discuss.
So one thing that I kind of think is big for you is like parrying. I think in general, what I like to do versus Palutena, call me crazy, is I do like to go for a lot of forward smashes, because what they like to do frequently is they like to be like, oh, I'll just do like a retreating forward there, and only has 6 frames of lag, has a lot of range, how are you going to beat me? And then you forward smash their ass for it. But here are some things that I think are important. So I think Shulk is horrible at air-to-air juggling generally. Why? Shulk has too much lag and usually has a hard time getting back to the ground. I think some things to consider is I think landing there is probably his best juggle tool. Because it's at such a great anti-air hitbox. It's like diagonally up in front of him. It lasts for a long time, and he lands immediately after, and then you can do whatever you want. And outside of that, speed is probably his juggling tool. Probably his best juggling tool. Speed lets you throw out a lot of hitboxes, but it also lets you cross up and feint a lot of commitments. So crossing under, crossing under, not cross up, same thing. Crossing under lets you actually beat out a lot of landing attempts where like they're just falling down, and you dash forward here, and then you pause for a second, and they're like, oh, they're gonna try to like grab me from here, and then you dash under them, and then you just do like a reverse down tilt, forward tilt, up B,
Right, yeah.
whatever. I think that's very underused for Shulk. I think the way Shulk juggles, like I said, they don't really have an amazing up air, but you do have a good neutral air if it's landing. So a lot of your juggling will be close to the ground. So focus on juggling close to the ground. This is stuff like landing there, cross unders, F smash out spaces, up Bs. I think up tilt is okay. I hate up tilt. I hate the move. But you can use it if you want to.
We are on the same page with the
Up
Schultz
tilt.
moves.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of up tilt.
I think parry is good too. So again, kind of like an underrated option for Shulk. And one thing that I think is really good too is like if we're talking about like cross under as like a movement option, is like empty or like short hop fast fall. What this does is when you short hop and then like fast fall, by the time you reach your apex, if they're coming towards you, and by the time you're at your apex, you would be in like double jump forward air range, for example. They're gonna be scared and they're gonna commit to anything, and then by fast falling, if they commit to a move, you can then whiff punish it, and if they commit to an air dodge, you can react and then punish it however you would like. So like
Right.
short up fast fall feints are actually key to his juggling game.
One thing I was thinking about when I was analyzing my advantage state was I felt like I would just preempt too much, and I needed to like commit to reacting more.
Yeah, so I think I kind of talked about this in the previous session. Is what you do is you go for barely untrue combos, which basically means combos that are like they're like 5 frames off from connecting, but they're not connecting. And what that means is that when you go for these type of combos, you actually give your opponent the optimal situations to reversal you. Because in a lot of situations, these are the type of combos where you just forward air at them and they're falling down, and now you just like dash attack them or dash grab them or try to go for another forward air. And then they neutral air dash to the ground, and then they immediately are legless, and then they punish you.
Right.
So I think, especially for Shulk, because we cannot react to shit, when a combo is not true, don't try to get another hit. And I know a lot of people will accept the extra hit that's not untrue, but you can adapt to that after they show you that they wouldn't mash out. Instead cover the reversal option. Always. And I mean, you know this, so I don't have to go too in-depth on this. But this is an important part regardless, especially for Shulk mains, because Shulk has a lot of these combos. Like, 90% of what Shulk does is like barely not true. And that makes it that much important to cover the reversal, because we cannot react to the reversal, we need to cover it.
Right.
But this kind of goes hand to hand with like overcommitting, and I think like your tendency to kind of like air to air with juggle in juggles also kind of plays into this. I think playing a very grounded type of juggle and then mixing up a chase, I think that is kind of the optimal way to go about it. And then there's of course a shield plus a shield. Okay. Any questions before we round out the session for tonight?
No, I think that was about everything.
Awesome.
Oh wait, one more thing. Since I scheduled the session at the same time as last time, the doc is named the same thing.
Oh, do you need me to rename it? I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
Session numbered. There you go.
All right. Looks good.
Awesome. I'll send you the document. Oh wait, that's the YouTube video. Please copy paste. Give me that link. It's all in Dutch so that you don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, let's see. You already have the student role. You know where to find the VODs. It's on the Twitch. And if you have
I
any...
actually left the Discord because it was lagging again, but I might rejoin.
Oh, whatever you prefer. I mean, I am trying to reach 500 members on my Discord, so I would appreciate it. But if you don't want to, then don't feel forced at all. Let me think. Yeah, if you have any follow-up questions, just send them my way. I feel like this, like, I'm actually gonna look at these notes for myself, because this is a lot of what I work on, but what I haven't really gotten into like a comprehensive document. So, hey, that's profit for me, huh? I hope it was informative, and yeah, I will hear from you if you need any further guidance.
All right.
Awesome. Have a great day, Gaku.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, that was Gaku. What's up, Raiko? Raiko the Psycho. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate the support. And of course, Delta Bolt and Memeling90. Thank you guys so very much for the follows too. I'm so happy, dude. How many followers are we at right now? Let me check it out. Twitch.tv. Dude, hope you guys enjoyed that session. It was very, very Shulk heavy. But I think it was a good opportunity for me to flaunt my Shulk knowledge. No, but I hope it was enjoyable. 907, I think that's 908 followers. Thank you guys so very much. What's up, Draco Meteor? Thank you so very much for the follow. Hope you enjoyed that session, even if it was a little bit Shulk specific. Guys, that was going to be all for today. We went a little bit over time. And, I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed the session. We got 2 more streams for the weekend. So we got another stream tomorrow and then another stream on Sunday. So way more coaching coming your way. Just drop that follow if you're interested in more. Yeah, I was gonna apply as much as the session as I can. Awesome, Raiko. I'm sure the show will appreciate it. That's what I'm looking for. Guys, thank you so much for being with me here tonight. I'm sorry I didn't really do too much viewer interactions today. The anti-show guide, I'm gonna be working on writing the script this weekend. All right, so and then I'll discuss with my editor how we're gonna construct the guide exactly. So guys, I will see you tomorrow and maybe even the day after. For now, I'm gonna be logging off. So guys, have a great day, morning, evening, night, wherever you are, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.